me for my voice, but I have never seen anything like it.
Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Welcome back to the show, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, sports fans from all over the place. I'm Andrew Zimmel, your host as always. Got a great episode for you today, talking a little bit about baseball. Put out a lot of good content for you. Put out a bunch of podcasts yesterday. We're putting out more podcasts as time continues. I told you I was off the grind for a minute. If you're new to the show, we put out stuff every day. If you haven't been keeping up with the stuff, then it's all out there for you. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Anchor. It's anywhere you get your podcasts, we are there. We even put our stuff on YouTube. There's no video, it's just audio, but if you're one of those people who likes to listen to something in the background of doing work, I know we're all at home because of quarantine, so you might be listening to a little bit more of YouTube, a little bit more of Spotify. Here's your chance to listen to us. So, we're talking a little bit about the baseball proposal today and how it's not getting done and what Major League Baseball can do in the future. So, according to our guy over there at ESPN, Jeff Passan, he put out the reported what these salary cuts are going to look like. We got guys like Blake Snell. We had guys like Bryce Harper. Both of those type of players have kind of stood up and said, hey, we don't really want to play during the middle of a pandemic, middle of something that we don't know where there's a real end to, and we also don't know if there's going to be a vaccine, and we also don't know all of the reported side effects of getting the coronavirus. I know that lay people, you, me, we have Alexander on the show a ton talking about the coronavirus. Right now, I think the information that we have as just normal American citizens is that if you get the coronavirus and you survive it, you have antibodies, you can go and continue to live a pretty healthy life. But the problem is that we're getting more and more results of, oh, well, lung capacity might only be 80% now. Oh, and, you know, there might be some sort of after effect on the heart and brain from this because of the stress that the virus puts on the body. So we don't really even know all of the complete side effects of having the coronavirus and surviving from it. Because, again, Major League Baseball players, no matter what your girlfriend says sitting in the stand, they are some of the best athletes in the world. They should be fine. But at the same time, some of these guys might have like underlying conditions they don't know about. Whatever. Blake Snell, Bryce Harper, millionaire baseball players don't want to play the game if they're not getting properly paid for it. So the reported pay cut is a pretty big deal. So it's $35 million this season. If you're making $35 million this season, you're going to be making $7.84 million. If you're making $30 million, it's going to go down to $6.94. $20 million, $5.15. Now you're probably asking yourself, Zimmel, millionaires, why are we caring about what they're making? You come on this podcast all the time. You say, we can't side with the billionaire owners. Why should we side with the millionaire players? Well, I draw this comparison. If you're making about $50K a year, which is a pretty decent median salary for Americans, if you're making $50,000 a year, your pay cut would, when you go back to work, you've been working at home, you come back, your pay cut would be $11,000. If your boss looked you in the eyes when you came back from this virus and said, hey, times are tough, the company took a hit, we still want you to be here, but we're going to pay you 4%, about 4.4% of your salary. I don't think anybody would want to sign up for that. I don't think anybody would go with that idea. You'd look at your boss and say, F you. That's not going to happen, okay? So we got to think about it that way. That these baseball players, it's not so much the millions from this point to this point. Sure, I bet a couple guys have house payments to make, but let's be real here, okay? It's the principle of the thing that you are going to be risking your life for making 4% of what your salary would be. And, there's a lot of economics go into it. Lack of fans in the stadium, the TV contracts, the whole shebang. Okay, like I get that side of it. But I am, again, in 100% support of the players. I'm always going to be in 100% support of the players. This is, you could talk to a bunch of different people. You could listen to other podcasts. You could listen to other economists and baseball money guys, and they're all going to say, different things. But I'm telling you on this podcast, in this situation, that I can't see a world where this is the best deal for the players. I can't wrap my head around that the owners got together and said, this is the genuine offer that we have. And here's the problem with that. The problem is that I don't know if the owners think that they have more time. I don't know if the Players Association knows that they might be pressed a little bit and they're going to have to take an offer. But what's happening now is that as we get closer and closer to June and July and August, you're getting closer and closer to the window of baseball's prime time being shut. When you talk about baseball, talk about the baseball season, they have between about April and early September to really get viewers. There's a reason that their season goes through the summer, and it's because that is when fans can go to the games. That's when people can watch the games, and you're not competing with the NFL. You're not competing with basketball very much. But if you can't get this deal done quickly, not only is your season going to be reduced, you're going to make less money because of the lack of fans, the lack of TV or money. You're going to run into football. And there's not a single sport in the world outside of maybe soccer internationally that will ever take any numbers away from the NFL. I get this all the time, that people are like, well, Twitch streamers, they make a ton of they have a ton of viewers, and we get a ton of viewers for the World Cup, and I agree. Like, those are very large platforms. Those are very large and growing sports. Soccer is the international it's the biggest sport in the world. But in America, in things that are going to affect American players, it's the NFL. And if the NFL sees what's happening, they have said over and over and over again that they are playing games. And we all know the track record the NFL has, that they saw concussions, and they said suit up, and they saw terrorist attacks, and they said suit up, and it doesn't matter. That the players are going to be on the field. The NFL will start on the regular start day. I don't see that. Will there be fans? No, there probably will not be fans, but they're going to start their season no matter what. Baseball is ruining their chances. I talked to a guy yesterday on the phone about this, and I was saying that if baseball doesn't get this thing up and going, if they, for some reason, decide not to play a season this year, they're going to go the same way hockey. I remind people, and I know there's some hockey fans listening to the podcast, so this isn't I'm not trying to shoot your sport in the foot here, but I'm telling you that hockey at one point in this country was very large. Was it ever the largest? No. Was it ever in the top 4? Yeah. But now it's a niche sport. It's a sport that you might know a guy at work who's a big hockey fan. He might be from Canada or Massachusetts. But for the most part, hockey's a niche sport on the East Coast and in Canada. There's not a ton of hockey fans outside of those type of areas. And, if your team's good, like the Blues were good this last year, you're going to have bandwagon fans that are just happy that their city's good. But for the most part, you don't have hockey fans like that anymore. And baseball is going to go the way of hockey. That there's going to be people in your office, there's going to be people at your work, there's going to be people that you see them at weddings, that are very into the St. Louis Cardinals. They're going to be very big into the Cubs. But I look at the sport of baseball, and if you miss this season, next season's cap, the next money that you're going to have is going to be all screwed up too. Fewer and fewer kids are already playing baseball in America. There's less and less chance, I think, of getting a Mike Trout out of the group that we have here. This sport is in a very particular spot. They're in a tough spot here. And if they don't figure it out during this virus, the way that the NBA has apparently tried to figure it out, the same way that football has figured it out, you're gonna go the way of hockey, and it's tough, and it's not what I think people would want in this country. I think people like baseball. It used to be America's pastime. I think people say that ironically now, but it will be very ironic, be very sarcastic if people think that Major League Baseball will be the America's pastime if they don't figure this out. The second thing I want to talk about on this baseball deal is that the A's owner, whose I don't have in front of me right now, but the Oakland Athletics put out a release, email to all their minor league players, essentially saying that they are not going to be paid this year, that the season has been canceled, minor league season has been canceled. This is all the affiliates of the Oakland Athletics. They're going to cancel the season, and then they're going to not pay them, and those players cannot go join other leagues, cannot go join other teams. They still are technically under contract. They just are not going to be paid. They're not going to play any games. And the problem with that is, like I was talking about earlier with the owners, the Oakland A's owner, who has had financial spats with the city of Oakland over A's Coliseum, who's had issues with taxpayers over building him a new stadium. Oakland's owner is worth $2.1 billion with a B dollars. Now, it's hard because we throw out numbers like that all the time. Jeff Bezos, a trillionaire. Bill Gates, multi-billionaire. Oprah Winfrey, billionaire. Like, it's hard for us to wrap our heads around. But do this. If you took $1 million and multiplied it by 1,000, so there's 1,000 millionaires, and pulled all their money together, that would be $1 billion. You would have to take 2,000 millionaires, put them together, and you have 1 billionaire. So if you pooled pretty much all of the professional athletes in America, pooled all their money together, you potentially could buy a pro baseball team. It's hard. It's hard to look at these numbers. It's hard to understand these figures and recognize what the problem is. And a big problem here is the A's owner, he didn't get pressure from the other owners. If another team had stepped up, because there's other teams in the same financial boat as they are. Let's use the Houston Astros for an example. The Houston Astros stepped up and said, hey, minor leagues, we're not going to have a season this year. You can't play for anybody else, but we're going to continue to send your weekly check. You're still going to get a check during the season. You're not going to get the bonus money. You signed a contract that said you hit 30 home runs. Well, you're clearly not going to hit 30 home runs, but we're going to continue to give you game checks to keep some of these guys alive, keep some of these guys afloat, because minor league baseball players don't make a ton of money. It wouldn't kill the A's to pay some of their minor league players during this pandemic, but they aren't, and it's not a great look for the owners of baseball. And this, again, goes back to the deal they sent the players. If your owners are doing this to minor league players, why do you think that they're giving you a good faith deal? And you're playing chicken with this type of stuff isn't the right thing to do. All right, moving on. Last baseball note that I want to bring up is that baseball, the Chicago Cubs, they're hosting a drive-in movie night at their stadium. And the Miami Dolphins in South Beach have already started doing that. I shouldn't say the Cubs are doing this. Chicago is doing this for the first time. It's a movie and concert series coming to downtown Chicago. The Miami Dolphins have already started trying to do something like this, having a drive-in movie in there. I think they're going to do it in their stadium parking lot or something like that. I'm all in on this. I love the idea of having drive-in movies. I don't know why they went away. I think that's a really cool, really unique idea for these stadiums to start doing it because, again, outside of, I think, Jerry World in Dallas, I don't think any stadium is owned by the owner. I think all of the stadiums, pretty much the majority of the stadiums in this country are owned by taxpayers, and taxpayers have subsidized a lot of them. So it's cool that they're using these stadiums, these parking lots, to do something during this pandemic, to something to bring people together. Also, I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'm of the belief that the bounce back from this thing is going to be pretty great. We're set up now for a pretty solid, I think, third and fourth quarter of this season, this economic season. People have money. In 2008, nobody had any money. Now people have money. Okay, they just aren't. They can't spend it. The stimulus check came in. People were buying TVs. People were buying computers. People were going all out and spending money. That's good. That is what's needed. Now, the next check, if there is a next check, I think that they need to put stipulations that it needs to be spent on small businesses. It needs to be spent at local restaurants. Can't be spent at a McDonald's. Can't be spent at a Best Buy. Can't be spent at a Walmart. It needs to be spent at a mom and pop shop. And if that happens, I like the chances of this country moving forward that way. So that's going to do it. On the other podcast, we're talking about the murder of African American man named George Floyd. Protests going through Minnesota right now, and a lot of athletes are speaking out. So we're talking about that in the other podcast we put out today. Hopefully you guys check that one out. We're starting something new. I'm looking into something. It's doing a Twitch stream at night. So we would probably do it from 8 to 9 probably Central Time, 8 to 9 Central Time. Do a Twitch stream, do like a power hour type sports talk show. I could talk for an hour. It wouldn't kill me to do that. But I think it'd be fun. I think it would get you guys maybe a little bit more engaged, have a little bit more back and forth. Who knows? Something to think about, something to contemplate. Hopefully we get some viewers. Maybe we don't. Whatever. It's nothing to do with the world. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Please stay safe. Please keep washing your hands. And, yeah, see you tomorrow.